Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the lab on domain controller installation. So we are going to configure the domain in the Windows 2016 server. So ensure that the network adapter is in the internal network. And we are going to put the Windows XP as the member of the domain. So even that I will put in the internal network. Once you've done that, log in. So before you make any changes in the virtual machine, I request you to take a snapshot. Why? After making changes, if you want to go back to the previous state, then you can, for example, I have taken the snapshot one already like this. Right click, take snapshot. So if you want to go back to the previous snapshot, just right click. So now this is running. If this is not running, then you can see this would not be great. You can restore. Now you cannot restore because the virtual machine is running. Okay, so once you restore, it will go back to the previous state. Whatever changes you made, that would go away. So now just log in into the server, and in the server I want you to configure the IP address first. So go to the run and type ncpa.cpl. So you would get the network adapter. Go to this TCP/IP4. You fix a static IP. Okay. So this is the IP of this system. Subnet mask. No need for default gateway. We are not going to use any routers here. But this machine, if you want to install the domain, you need a DNS server. So if you have already some DNS server in an organization, then you can give that DNS server. Otherwise, you have to create a DNS server. So in the same machine, I like to have a DNS server. So the DNS server IP is going to be same IP of this machine. Usually in an organization, the DNS server would be different. So whatever the IP of the DNS server, that should be given here. And to create a domain, the DNS server is important. And the IP address of the system in which you are installing the domain should be static. It should not be changing. It should not be dynamic. That's why we are configuring the static IP. So once the IP has been configured, what you can do is go for server manager. So go to the server manager. Before that, just check, configure the IP for the XP also. ncpa.cpl, right click, properties. So you have to give the same network, both the systems should be in the same network. So our domain controller is in 10 and this is 20. Now you have to give what is the DNS server. So already we have made the system in which we are installing the domain as a DNS server. So 10.1.10, that is a DNS server. Once it is done, just ping the machine, ping 192.168.1. So it's not pinging. Just ensure the firewalls are on. Off. So firewall is off here. Let me go to this. So just switch off the firewall, because the main objective of this lab is to learn the domain controller and how to add a computer into the domain. Okay, so it is not advisable to switch off the firewall, but you have to configure the rules to allow the ping command. Once you configure the rules, then no need to switch off the firewall. Clear? So that video I will give you separately, how to configure the rules. So now I hope it is pinging. Yeah, it is pinging. Earlier the pinging was not allowed, ICMP was not allowed by the firewall. Okay, so now both systems have connectivity. Now we are in the position to install the domain controller. So add roles and features. Next, leave the default one, don't make any changes. Leave the default one, don't make any changes here. So here actually which system? So there is only one system. So in the same system we want to configure the domain controller. So here there are a lot of services available. Here you can see Active Directory domain services. Let me show you again. See here you can see a lot of services: DNS, DHCP, IIS. So in that you have to go to Active Directory domain services. If you want to configure certificate authority, then you should select the first one, but here we want domain services. Add feature. Next, okay, again I repeat, sorry, I went fast. Okay, so here we selected the Active Directory domain services. Next, so here you don't make any changes. Okay, don't make any changes here unless or until you need something. Next, next, install. So now the installation process is going on. You have to wait for some time. So now here you can close. After closing, still some configurations are pending. So you can see here the yellow mark here, notification. So just click this. Okay, when you click, you can see the first one, promote this server to a DC, domain controller. Okay, again I repeat, just go here, and the first one, promote the server to a domain controller. Click this. So here, add a domain controller to an existing domain. So we do not have any domain. Okay, so now only we are going to create a domain. Add a domain to an existing forest. So forest is a larger term. It's a container which holds many domains. Forest contains many domains. Your organization can have many domains, and all the related domains of an organization would be existing inside a forest. So we don't have any forest now. So now we are going to create a forest and a domain. Okay, so a forest would be a larger container that holds the domain. Okay, so add a new forest. So what is the domain name? Let's say sur.com. Okay, you can give any name. So it is asking some inputs from us. What is a forest functional level, domain functional level? So in our organizations, there would be many servers like Windows 2008, 2012, like that. So if you want to, you have many types of servers working in an organization, and now you are going to the previous servers are 2008 or 2012. Now you want to deploy 2016, so it might not be compatible with the previous versions. So in that context, okay, you can scale down your functional level to 2012 or 2008. But we don't have any servers now. Just this is the only server we are going to put. Okay, and a DNS server is needed. Already I told you. So if there is no DNS, then it would create a DNS service in the same system. So global catalog server is a server which contains the information about users and different objects in a domain or forest. Okay, just don't disturb anything, leave the default one. Here you have to give the recovery password in case any problem to the Active Directory domain service you want to restore for recovery purpose. So give p at ssw0rd because it needs complex password. So it's up to you, you can give any password. For simplicity I am telling, for learning purpose, don't give any simple password, but you should remember this recovery password, don't forget. So just go next. Okay, so automatically it is getting the this one. I am not doing anything, students. So here, after giving the recovery password, I am going next. I am not doing anything. Then it would fetch the NetBIOS name from the domain name what we gave in the initial screen. So we are not making any input here, but if you want to change it, you can change, no problem. So this is the location where all the information about the Active Directory is stored. This is very important from security point of view. Log files are stored in this location, C:\Windows, and the file name is NTDS. Sysvol folder is this, and database folder is this. So the security of these files are very, very important. So now the installation is going on. So install. So you have to wait for some time. The installation process is going on. So now what actually we are doing is a server standalone computer has been promoted as a domain controller. Now this domain controller, you can see, can control many member computers in the domain, but we have to join these member computers to the domain, okay, explicitly. Otherwise you cannot control them. Okay, it's restarting. So meantime, let's go here. Here we can access the control panel, we can access the command prompt, we can access the control panel, because this is a right click, properties. This is a work group computer. So all the computers by default, they are called work group computers. It is not joined to any domain. So if it is joined to any domain, then the domain controller would be controlling this device, this client system. Okay, to control the client systems from the domain controller, we need group policy. We will discuss that in the future labs. just waiting for the DC to connect. So once it's connected, we can add this system as a member of the Soor.com. Let me pause the video. So now let's see whether it has restarted. Now you can see the domain name is preceding the username administrator. Earlier it was not there, because now this system is promoted as a DC controller. So now you are logging into a domain controller. Now we go to this system and try to add this computer as a member of the domain. So before that, you go here, try to ping Soor.com, because the domain name is Soor.com. So now it should be pinging. So if it is pinging, the domain installation is successful. So now we are going to join this computer into the domain. So what you have to do is, okay, so can you see this change? Click here. It is a work group computer. The computer would be either in the work group, okay, or you have to promote that system into a domain. So now we are going to join this into a domain. The domain name is Soor.com. When you click here, it would ask the authentication. Okay, so you have to, actually this job would be done by the administrator in any organization. So here it is asking the credentials of the administrator. So administrator, the password of the administrator in the Windows 2000 server, Windows server actually. So if the credentials are correct, then you can see welcome to the Soor.com domain. So this system has been joined to the domain controller. So you have to restart. So before let me log in. You can see here you can log in into the domain, but you need a user account there in the domain, right? So go here, tools, this is a Windows server, Active Directory users and computers. Go to this location. So tools, in the tools, Active Directory users and computers. So this is the Active Directory users and computers. Click the domain. So in the domain, go to users. So these are the users, default users. So these many default users are there. Now here just right click, new user. So username, let's say Tom, login name Tom, okay, password, just select this option, pass@, give a complex password, okay, p at ssw0 or d. So the user is created here. Okay, so once the user is created, so you can go to the Windows XP. You can enter the Tom, the password of the Tom, and now you are logged into the Windows XP. Okay, and the authentication is done by the domain controller. So like this, your account, student's account, teacher's account, all the accounts are created here in the domain controller, and so that we can log in from any computer which is a member of the domain. Okay, and here, from here you can control the the users and computers through something called group policy. So that we will discuss that in the future labs. Okay, so you have something called group policies. Here, this group policy. So this we will discuss that so this is the domain. So this is the default domain policies here. Okay, so these policies you can just, this is a default domain policy, edit. Okay, so this is the policy which you want to enforce on the user. Okay, so these policies are classified into computer and users. These are used to enforce on the computers. These are these can be enforced on the user accounts. Okay, so system. So here there is an option where you can disable the command prompt. Just a minute, let me find where is it. So you can see, students, in the user configuration under the administrative template you have system. In the system you can see prevent access to the command prompt. Now I disabled. If I disable, okay, after disabling you should run this command. gp update /force. gp update, G P for pen, G for gun, P for pen, gp update space /force. So it is updating. Now you can see now there is no command prompt. Earlier there was command prompt, even I showed you that. Now there is no command prompt. Oh sorry, the command prompt is here. Let me restart, log off. So I made a mistake actually. So when you go to this, again I repeat, go to tools, then go to group policy management. So default domain policy, edit. So go to the users, in that you go to administrative template. Go to system. Here prevent access to the command prompt. So enable. So if you enable this policy settings, the user tries to open a command window, the system displays a message explaining that a setting prevents the action. So if you enable that, okay, so you can't access. Okay, so whenever you make any change, it is important to update the group policy. Okay, go to run. So here gp update /force. So it is updating. Meantime, you try to log off. Okay, let's wait for the policy to get updated. Okay, it is updated successfully. And now let's log in. And if you try to access, you can see the command prompt has been disabled by your administrator. Press any key to continue. You cannot access a command prompt. So this is a wonderful security feature. You are controlling each and every computers in the network, each and every users in the computer in the network through the group policy. So through group policy you can do lot of things. Okay. So one last information in this. Here if you go to the computer configurations, policies, Windows settings, and in that security settings, you can see lot of policies. So the policy which is very important to us are password policy, because in many topics in security we discussed about the password policy. So where exactly this password policy is configured is here in the group policy, under the computer configuration, under the Windows settings, under the security settings, you can see the password policy. So these are the password policy. Enforce your password history. So last 24 passwords you cannot use again by default. If you want, you can reduce them or increase them. Okay, last how many password you cannot use it back. What is the minimum password age? Okay, so after 42 days you have to change, but if you want you can change them. And minimum at least one day you should use this. Okay, so if you want you can increase like that. Minimum password age. What should be the minimum length? 7 characters. If you want to reduce or increase, you can do it. So do you want the password should be complex or it should be simple, any special characters, numbers? Then enable or disable. So you want to save the password using encryption, enable or disable. So these are the password policies. In case the password is someone trying brute force attack to defend against the brute force attack, the password lockout policy has to be defined. So if the if the user enters 3 times wrong password, then the account would be locked. So that you can specify here, account lockout threshold. Then so how long, if the user account is locked, so how long is the account should be kept in a condition not usable by the user. Okay, how long the lockout duration, so you can define that here. And you would study this in Kerberos, maybe in network security B, some security courses, Kerberos policies. So that are defined here, that are you can do the settings of Kerberos policies here. So it is a big topic. This group policy is a big topic and it's very, very important for the security point of view. I hope I have covered the basics of what is a domain, how to join a system into a domain, and what is a group policy, what we can do with the group policy. I have shown you the basic configuration, how you can do the configuration and how we do the work in the member computers. But there are a lot of things we have to discuss. You have to learn many more advanced things in the group policy. So we will see that in the future labs. Okay, thank you, students.